The arrogance of the stars. The Galactic Council chamber on Asteron Prime was a cathedral of power. Vast spires arched above a dais where the elder species of the galaxy gathered. Thousands of worlds owed them allegiance. Yet today the discussion was about a single, stubborn planet on the outer rim, Earth. The Vayner Dominion's representative rose first. Tall, silver-scaled, and draped in ceremonial armor, he let his voice thunder through the chamber. Humans have trespassed into restricted space. They have claimed resources that are not theirs, built colonies without authorization, and violated 3 standing treaties. This cannot stand. Murmurs rippled among the delegates. To most, humanity was a minor annoyance. The Terrans had only entered faster-than-light travel a century ago, children, compared to species whose history stretched back tens of thousands of years. They were reckless, unpredictable, and often violent. A representative of the Sithari Union, a crystalline being of shimmering facets, hummed in disapproval. Why waste time with them? Their fleets are small, their lifespans pitifully short. A single Dominion strike fleet could reduce Earth to ash. Laughter broke out among several delegations. The consensus was clear. Humanity was not a threat. They were an inconvenience, nothing more. Yet not all voices agreed. Ambassador Lyra of the Tholkien Confederacy leaned forward, her insectoid mandibles clicking. You underestimate them. Humans are not like us. They do not accept limits. Their history is littered with wars where they were outnumbered, outgunned, yet they endured. They adapt quickly, learn from defeat, and they do not forget insults. The Vayner delegate sneered. Are you suggesting primitives could resist the Dominion? Absurd. We have ruled empires since before their kind left their caves. Lyra's multifaceted eyes shifted across the chamber. I am suggesting that the galaxy does not yet understand what humanity is capable of. Her warning was ignored. Pride and arrogance filled the hall. One after another, delegates voiced their support for military action. To them, the war would be swift, efficient, and decisive. A lesson to put humanity in its place. The council vote was overwhelming, sanction granted. The Vayner Dominion would lead the campaign, supported by other great powers eager to share in the spoils. The decree was entered into galactic law with a single strike of the speaker's staff. Outside the chamber, whispers spread quickly across the station. Merchants speculated on Terran resources soon to flood the markets. Military officers exchanged wagers on how many days Earth would last. Historians began drafting the inevitable account of the Dominion's victory. Only a few remained uneasy. Ambassador Lyra recorded a private message to her government. The others see humanity as weak, but I see something different. I see a fire that will not be quenched. If they are cornered, they will not submit. They will resist, and in their resistance, they may shake us all. Back on Earth, the humans had not yet learned of the Council's decision. Life continued, fragile and unprepared. But across the stars, the fate of their world had already been sealed. The galaxy believed Earth's story would soon end. It had no idea that it was only beginning. Humanity's defiance. The first sight of the Dominion fleet above Earth was enough to steal the breath of billions. Thousands of alien warships blotted out the stars, their metallic hulls glowing with reactor fire. News broadcasts across the planet carried the same grim images. Humanity was about to be crushed beneath a force older and larger than any nation on Earth had ever faced. Panic might have been expected. Instead, something else happened. The United Earth Defense Network, a fragile coalition of nations formed after the first contact treaties, moved with a speed that shocked even its own members. Borders dissolved overnight. Factories once producing cars, appliances, and consumer electronics roared to life with new orders: drones, munitions, and orbital defense batteries. Civilian freighters were stripped and refitted into makeshift gunships. Every able-bodied pilot, engineer, and soldier was called into service. On the orbital command platform Athena, Commander Elias Navarro addressed his officers. They think we will kneel. They think we will surrender before the first shot is fired. Let us teach them what it means to fight for home. When the Dominion fleet began its assault, they expected compliance. Instead, the skies lit with defiance. Earth's meager defense ships, smaller and weaker by every measure, surged forward like wolves attacking a leviathan. Human tactics baffled the aliens. The Dominion favored rigid formations and overwhelming firepower. The Terrans used chaos. Swarms of fighter craft darted between capital ships, targeting engines and communication arrays rather than weapons. Civilian vessels, their hulls patched with scavenged armor, rammed into cruisers with suicidal precision, detonating their cores in blinding explosions. What aliens called madness, humans called necessity. The first battle raged for hours. Entire cities on Earth trembled as orbital bombardment struck, yet the human fleet refused to break. Engineers hacked into Dominion communications, feeding them false orders. Decoys disguised as troop carriers drew enemy fire away from real transports. Each tactic carried a cost in lives, but each success chipped away at the enemy's certainty. When the smoke cleared, the impossible had happened. A Dominion strike fleet lay shattered in orbit. The humans had lost hundreds of ships, thousands of lives, but they had won. Across the galaxy, shockwaves rippled. Council worlds replayed the footage in disbelief. Commentators demanded explanations. How could primitives turn back the Dominion's war machine? Some whispered that perhaps humanity had received secret aid. Others claimed it was mere luck. But on Earth, no one doubted the truth. The world had united for the first time in history, and in that unity, humanity had discovered its strength. Commander Navarro stood on the bridge of the Athena, watching the wreckage drift through orbit. His face was pale, eyes shadowed with exhaustion, but his voice carried steel. They thought we would kneel. Instead, we stood, and we will keep standing. The galaxy had sent its armada to break humanity. Instead, it had awakened something it could not yet understand, a fire that burned brighter with every loss. The war for Earth had only begun. The fire spreads. The Dominion should have crushed humanity in a single strike. That was the certainty of every strategist in the Galactic Council. Yet months after the first battle, reports arrived that the Terrans had not only survived, they were growing stronger. Earth's industries, once thought laughably primitive, had shifted into overdrive. Shipyards ringed the Moon and Mars, constructing vessels at a pace that baffled alien observers. Human engineers tore apart wrecked Dominion ships, studying them piece by piece, and within weeks incorporated alien technology into their own designs. Where the Dominion required decades to field a new class of warship, humanity could prototype and launch one in months. The war spread beyond Earth. When the Dominion tried to seize the mining colonies of Ceres and Europa, they found fortified bunkers bristling with railguns. At Saturn, hidden human fleets ambushed convoys with precision strikes. Every battle cost humanity dearly, but each defeat hardened them, and each victory inspired them to fight harder. Commander Navarro, now Supreme Marshal of the United Earth Defense, addressed the Allied War Council in orbit above Mars. They fight as if we should be predictable. They do not understand that our strength is in adaptation. We will never fight by their rules. That is why we will win. Across the galaxy, oppressed species were watching. The Creel, enslaved for generations under Dominion control, whispered of Terran victories in their underground tunnels. The Zalari, whose rebellions had always been crushed, began painting Terran flags on the walls of their cities. A phrase spread from world to world. If the humans can stand, so can we. This terrified the Council more than the military defeats. The Dominion had always ruled by fear, and fear was slipping away. In response, the Council authorized the largest joint fleet in centuries. Over 300 ships from 5 empires converged on Jupiter, determined to end the Terran resistance once and for all. The battle would be decisive. It was decisive, but not in the way they expected. As the fleets emerged from hyperspace, they found themselves walking into a trap. Human ships poured from Jupiter's shadow, hidden in the dense belts of rock and ice. Swarms of drone fighters, launched in silence from disguised stations, swarmed the enemy's flanks. And then came the unthinkable. Massive asteroids, pushed for weeks by nuclear engines, slingshot into the path of capital ships. The battle became chaos. Alien admirals issued precise, orderly commands. only to find them disrupted by human hacking and decoys. The Terrans struck where the enemy was weakest, then disappeared, forcing their foes to chase ghosts. When the smoke cleared, dozens of Dominion ships were drifting wrecks, and the combined fleet, thought unstoppable, retreated in disarray. From that day, the galaxy's perception shifted. Humanity was no longer seen as prey. They were predators, and as word of Jupiter's battle spread, rebellion flickered across countless worlds. The fire had been lit, and it was spreading. The day humanity shocked the galaxy, the Dominion was bleeding. Fleets shattered, colonies in revolt, allies questioning their loyalty. Yet the Council insisted the war could still be won. Humanity was clever, yes, but still young, still fragile. All it would take was overwhelming force. So they gathered it. The largest fleet in galactic history emerged from hyperspace on the edge of Sol. More than 2,000 warships, bristling with weapons that had crushed empires. The galaxy watched. This would be the end. Earth would burn, and the Terran defiance would be reduced to a cautionary tale. But humanity had been waiting. From orbiting shipyards to hidden bases on the moon, preparations had been underway for months. Every scrap of wreckage had been recycled into weapons. Every satellite, every relay, every mining rig had been refitted for war. And in the shadows of space, human scientists had devised their most daring gamble yet. The wormhole gates. These ancient constructs were the arteries of galactic civilization, linking stars in seconds. No one dared tamper with them. The Council considered them sacrosanct, irreplaceable. Humanity considered them targets. As the Dominion Armada advanced, hidden Terran strike teams detonated charges within the gates across multiple systems. Entire sectors of the fleet were cut off, unable to retreat or resupply. Panic rippled through alien command chains. For the first time, the Council realized humanity was not simply defending. They were changing the rules of war. The Armada pressed on regardless. Earth hung before them, defiant, bristling with new defenses. Massive rail cannons hidden on the moon fired slugs that ripped through capital ships. Swarms of drones launched from converted freighters overwhelmed enemy screens. And from the asteroid belt, entire rocks, guided by nuclear engines, hurtled toward the fleet like the fists of gods. The battle raged for days. Humanity lost ships, stations, and lives by the tens of thousands. But their enemies lost more. Alien admirals, accustomed to orderly campaigns, could not adapt to the chaos. One by one, their formations collapsed. The armada that had been meant to annihilate Earth broke apart under the weight of fire and confusion. When the last Dominion flagship fell, its wreckage burning through Earth's atmosphere, humanity stood blooded but unbroken. Across the galaxy, the shock was absolute. The impossible had happened. The greatest fleet ever assembled had been defeated by a world barely a century into the stars. Billions watched the Terran broadcast that followed. Commander Navarro, weary but unbowed, addressed the galaxy. We did not seek this war, but when you came to break us, we stood. Know this, Earth bows to no one. We are here to stay. For the oppressed and forgotten, the message was a spark. For the great empires, it was a warning. The balance of power had shifted forever. That day was etched into galactic history. The day when arrogance met defiance. The day when humanity, against all odds, shocked the galaxy.